Now I'm going to talk about how to enhance the color in your photo. So here I have a photo open. On the left hand side are my tools palette. Over here on the right I have my layers. And up at the top I have kind of like my preferences. So depending on which tool I am on, my options or preferences change. So if I am on one tool, it gives me one type of options, and if I'm on a different tool, there are different options. It's really so you could specify how you are using the tool. But I'm going to go over here to the layers, and we can see that there's one layer. This is going to be what you typically see when you open up a photo file, and it says background and it's locked. Now, if for some reason you are unable to edit this, it normally will say index and it won't allow you to change anything. And what I mean by that is if I, for example, double click on this layer, it asks me to rename it. I'm going to call it original. Save that. So it, let me rename it. If for some reason it doesn't let you do that and it says index, what you need to do is go up to the image menu and go to mode. Make sure you are on RGB color. Sometimes it will be set on index color. If, for example, you grab an image from the web and it kind of has to do with copyright settings and how the photo was compressed and saved. But if you are importing directly from your digital camera, it probably will not be a problem. It should automatically be RGB, so you normally don't have to check that, but if for some reason you have a problem, check the image mode. Okay, so here I have one layer, but let's make a copy of the layer. It's always a good practice when you're first starting with a photo to make a copy of the layer so that you're not working with the original photo, and you can always come back to it or compare to the original. So to make a duplicate or copy of this layer, you can right click and choose duplicate layer and name it, I'm going to name it enhanced color. I'm going to show you another way to also duplicate a layer is to drag it to this new layer tag or new layer button. So if I click on this new layer button, it gives me a new layer. But if I am on a layer, and you can tell you're on a layer by seeing that it is highlighted, and I drag it to the new layer tag or button, you can see that it makes a copy. I don't actually need that copy, so I'm going to go ahead and delete it by either right clicking and choosing delete layer or by dragging it to the trash can. Okay, so now I have three layers. I have my original layer, I have a copy of my original layer, which I named Enhanced Layer, and I have a brand new layer called Layer 1. Now, basically when you see a layer that has gray and white checkered boxes, that just basically means that it is a transparent layer. It's, it's clear. So your layers are kind of like a stack of paper. If you have a stack of paper, what you see is the paper on top, and you can't see the papers below unless there is like a hole in the paper, or unless the paper on top is a piece of tissue paper, so it's semi see-through. So right now we can see through to the second layer because we just have a transparent layer on top, but let's change that so we can kind of have a good understanding of layers. If we go over here to our colors, we can see right now that I have pink on top, black on the bottom. What you're going to do is it's going to use the top color, so I can reset these colors to default colors of black and white by clicking on the little black and white boxes. If I click on the brush tool, it's going to paint with that color on top. And I'm just going to choose a normal brush here. So you'll see it paints black. If I want white, I can just flip those, make sure white's on top, right with white. I can choose a color by double clicking. It brings up the color picker. I pick a color. I can also use the slider to kind of get into the different colors of the rainbow. Can move around, pick whatever color I want. Click OK. You can also enter an RGB value or a CMYK value or hexadecimal value. Hexadecimal values is what you are typically using to specify colors on the web. For example, when you're specifying a background color on a web page, you are specifying that usually with a hexadecimal value. But anyway, I'm just going to go ahead and use the picker to pick a color. And then you can see I'm on my brush tool, so I can still draw with it. Now if we look back at our layers, you can see that I have been drawing on this top layer because that's the one that's highlighted. Now these eyes here, you can turn them on and off. It kind of shows you what you're viewing. So I can turn off the top layer and it gets rid of all those little scribbles since that's the layer that those are on. So if we can't see it, obviously we can't see the scribbles, and it shows the two layers underneath. Now that is the brush tool I was using before, which is kind of like, you know, you have a paintbrush and you paint a wall or you paint a painting. In the corner of each tool there is a little triangle that tells you that there's more options to choose from. The option on top is usually like the most common or the last used, and underneath there's more options. So I could switch, for example, to the pencil tool by clicking and holding down on the brush tool and then selecting the pencil tool. And the pencil tool is similar to the brush tool. It just kind of gives a little bit different effect. Now, so again, up here at this top bar, it's showing you preferences or options. So when I have the pencil tool on, I can come up here. I can choose a different type of brush. I can adjust the size of it, the hardness of it, something that you can play around with. I can choose like a funny brush, which will like do little stars. I'll even make those a little bit bigger so you can see it better. Makes little stars. Now depending on your brush, let's see, I think this one does it. Depending on your brush, it's going to mix your foreground and background colors when it's drawing your brush. So you can see I have orange as my foreground, black as my background. So it kind of combines those to give this effect when you're drawing. And that again kind of depends on what brush you're drawing with. For the most part, many times it's just going to default to the top color. Now let's look at the paint bucket. Now the difference between the paint brush or the pencil tool and the paint bucket is that the paint bucket is kind of like literally a paint bucket where you would you know, dump the whole bucket. So if I use a paint bucket, it's going to fill whole areas. It's going to fill little holes. And I can also create a new layer, and I can fill the whole top layer. I'm going to fill it with black by reversing the colors and clicking black. And you can see I still have my other layer, but the black layer is on top since I had done it on a new layer.